On the outskirts of Alexandria, once ancient Egypt's greatest metropolis,
there are several possible tombs.
archaeologists search for bodies. Any clue could shed light on how an ancient megacity
Start excavate.
vanished almost entirely.
This is the moment of truth. Now we're going to leave the blood. Wow!
Alexandria, a city of legends with a history stretching back more than 2,000 years to the era of Egypt's final pharaohs. Once ancient Egypt's greatest metropolis, today little is known about the lives and deaths of its earliest inhabitants. Now, archaeologists are finding new ways to get under the city's skin, to discover how Alexandria was born from almost nothing and then disappeared into near oblivion.
There's not much written about that time. It has been almost erased in history. This site, from my point of view, is one of the most important sites that show us how Alexandria was.
Chief among Kathleen's discoveries at Taposiris Magna is a huge burial ground not far from the temple walls. She believes any bodies in these shallow graves could help her uncover the clues she's looking for.
We need to choose among the graves here.
The cemetery contains dozens of graves, but many have been robbed or destroyed by 2,000 years of storms. This season, Kathleen has found a collection of burials that may have escaped the ravages of weather and greed.
I think this one.
Sure.
See if we're lucky.
I think so. We will be lucky.
Kathleen believes ordinary Alexandrians had good reason to be buried close to this temple. Taposiris Magna wasn't just a religious site, it was a multi-purpose hub. Positioned strategically on the coast just west of Alexandria, the temple at Taposiris Magna was a prime point of access to Mediterranean trade. An 1,800-yard-long causeway gave the temple access to the sea, providing a place for the city's pilgrims and merchants to mingle with traders. Inside, priests conducted religious ceremonies, ministering to the needs of Alexandria's dead. But they also oversaw trade to and from the city, making Taposiris Magna a hive of activity for Alexandria's ordinary folk. Archaeologist Linda Chapon has helped Kathleen uncover more than 100 tombs in the necropolis. Her experience tells her this one could hold precious clues to how Alexandrians lived.
Kathleen, look, you can see here, we see like the remains of plaster from the ceiling.
Yeah, the plaster.
But here there are some.
You're right, this is the plaster.
Finding an intact plaster seal is a good sign. It's the first thing tomb raiders would break when robbing a grave. It suggests there may still be a body inside.
It doesn't matter if it looks small. Usually the smaller stones give us more information than the big ones.
Kathleen needs to prise open the seal. But she can't just start digging if the grave contains human remains. She needs to bring in an expert tomb excavator. In downtown Alexandria, Egyptologist Arto Belekdanian has come to investigate the origins of this ancient megacity. He begins at one of Alexandria's last remaining ancient sites, the Serapeum.
Just look at this place. I mean, everything is truly on a magnificent scale. You can tell that this place was a very significant site.
Dating from the 3rd century BCE, this temple is one of very few ancient structures not covered by the modern metropolis. The temple's tallest monument is known as Pompey's Pillar.
This was, in fact, a much later Roman period addition to the city of Alexandria's skyline. But what is interesting is that block down here. It's very clearly some kind of reused element from something else that's been incorporated into the construction of the base.
The otherwise plain black granite block contains inscriptions that suggest it was once part of an earlier pre-Roman structure, when Alexandria was capital of Egypt.
Look at that, there's Greek writing on it. This is a dedication by, it's a little unclear, but here it very clearly says Alexandrius, the Alexandrian. So although Alexandria was the capital of Egypt, what we have here is Greek writing, Greek dedications. It was very much also a Greek city.
The Serapeum, with its pillared temple and colonnades, is a clue to Alexandria's heritage. The vast ancient city looks far more Greek than Egyptian. Buildings bristling with columns are set along grid-like streets, a design pioneered by the Greeks. Near the waterfront is the Museum, a vast institution of learning. It sits alongside the city's famed library and a classically Greek-styled amphitheater. And overlooking it all, the towering lighthouse of Alexandria is a true wonder of Greek design and engineering.
Okay, this is decidedly not Egyptian tradition. This column capital is of the Corinthian order of Greek tradition.
Why was Egypt's most celebrated city so steeped in the architecture of Greece, hundreds of miles away across the Mediterranean Sea? To help answer that, Arto wants to explore how the city was founded. In the ancient settlement of Philadelphia, 140 miles to the south, Egyptian archaeologist Bassem Gehad is exploring a necropolis.
This site is outstanding because Philadelphia was built on a fresh land by people from Alexandria. This was proved by papyri and text from the 3rd century. The same way of building with the same people, with the same mindset.
Unlike ancient Alexandria, Philadelphia has never been built over. Beneath the sand, its archaeology is near pristine. In this desert, Bassem hopes to unearth clues to the culture of the legendary lost city.
This is the only living example that mimics ancient Alexandria.
Evidence of Alexandrian customs and traditions could be just below the surface. The excavation has got off to a strong start. Bassem's team has uncovered wall footings indicating the presence of a mud brick structure. Spanning an area of 35 by 40 feet, it's large. But what excites Bassem is not so much the building's size as its decoration.
You can feel the brush strokes of the artist. I've never seen this before in this site. This is quite a special moment.
The vivid colored artwork doesn't stop at the floor. Frescoes seem to cover every surface.
There was paintings all over the world. This is beautiful. Just amazing.
As Bassem's team continues to haul away the sand, they begin to reveal the structure's architecture. A series of square platforms suggest a porch or walkway.
So we can see remains of columns that give us an indication of that this building was standing high. From what I see here, we can say that we have the first mausoleum to be found in Philadelphia.
Ancient Egyptian mausoleums were structures built by Egypt's wealthiest families to allow the living to visit the dead.
For us, this is a huge discovery.
The person this structure was built to honor could be close by, perhaps even entombed beneath the building itself. In Egypt's Mediterranean city of Alexandria, Arto is investigating the city's earliest days, trying to explain why the ancient buildings appear so Greek in style. The oldest known surviving reference to the site where Alexandria now stands appears on a slab of carved stone dated to 311 BCE.
I'm here looking at an image of the satrap stela. This is a monumental decree bearing a fascinating text.
The stela refers to a coastal fort at a place called Ra Kadet.
And what it basically translates into is the place of building. In other words, the construction site. Right there is the word that indicates construction. That is a man building a wall, right there.
The stela was carved just 20 years after one of the most seismic events in Egyptian history, the arrival of the legendary Greek empire builder, Alexander the Great. In 332 BCE, having already taken control of much of Persia, he conquered Egypt and set about constructing a new city. Legend says the philosopher Homer visited Alexander in a dream and told him of a site where he could locate a new capital. Alexander's architect used grain to map out the city's plan as a way of blessing the great conqueror's new venture. As they lay their outline, birds descended to feast on the seeds. An omen Alexander took to mean his city would feed the world. Alexander died before his capital was finished, leaving a line of Greek kings, all called Ptolemy, to complete the work. Surrounded by water, Alexandria was easily defendable and had prime access to Mediterranean trade. But by building a brand new capital on the coast, the new Greek rulers had taken a gamble. It meant asking the native Egyptians to abandon 2,700 years of tradition.
When you think about where the ancient Egyptians lived, you instantly think the Nile Valley. And that is absolutely true. They had to be convinced that this was not only a nominal capital, but a real, true capital connected to their ancestors, to their places of worship, to their deities, to their traditions. So how did the Ptolemies pull this off?
At Taposiris Magna, Kathleen is preparing to break open what she believes is a rare, intact tomb of an ordinary Alexandrian. The body inside could reveal clues to day-to-day lives in the Greek-Egyptian capital.
We want to know more about the people of ancient Alexandria. We want to complete this information that is missing about the ancient Alexandria.
Any human remains inside the grave will be extremely fragile.
So first we will clean around. Do you agree, Kathleen? A bit more the sun to see better the clothing?
Breaking the seal is a job that requires one of their most experienced burial excavators.
And when we have a tomb, actually, we call the experts, the specialists in excavating tombs.
With the plaster removed from the 3 stone slabs covering the pit, Kathleen is ready to open the grave.
This is the moment of truth. Now we're going to leave the blood. This is the reason I do this job, and all of us, because this is really exciting.
It's the most delicate of heavy lifting jobs. One slip could lead to serious injury.
Be careful with your hand.
Instantly, Kathleen has cause for concern.
This is not a good sign. The sand is very clean and it's loose. It's not compacted. We expect it to be after 2,000 years.
Exposed to the elements for millennia, the grave appears to have suffered water damage. Kathleen needs to find out if the body has survived, or if the evidence of Alexandrian life that it may carry has disintegrated into dust. In Alexandria, Arto wants to explore how Egypt's Greek rulers persuaded the native Egyptians to get behind them and their new capital city. To learn more, he's come to the city's largest archaeological site, Com El Dika. Among the rows of monuments, some objects stand out.
This is the quintessential symbol of the power of the king. The head of a human being, the king himself, and the body of a regal, powerful lion. An image that is traditionally Egyptian.
The Sphinx had been a symbol of Egypt ever since the age of the pyramids, 2,000 years before Alexander and the Ptolemies arrived.
The inscription here identifies the king who commissioned this beautiful work of art, King Psamtek II of the 26th dynasty. This object was commissioned about 300 years before Alexandria was even founded.
Many of the monuments lining the site appear to have been sculpted hundreds of years before Alexander conquered Egypt.
Now, this can only mean one thing. These monuments were actually brought at some point to Alexandria, well after they were first commissioned.
Arto believes the Greek pharaohs weren't simply repurposing existing statues to speed up building work in the new capital. They were seeking to prove to the Egyptian people that they belonged.
This was a clever strategy by the Greek rulers who found themselves reigning over a land that was very foreign to them. These monuments were brought here, granting these Greek rulers legitimacy in the eyes of the indigenous Egyptian population.
If the Ptolemies' plan was to use ancient statues to prove their Egyptian credentials to the locals, it seems to have worked.
In just 50 years, Alexandria was catapulted to the forefront of the ancient world, becoming the most powerful, prosperous, culturally flourishing city the world had ever seen by that point.
Egypt had a thriving new capital, where Greeks and Egyptians lived side by side, ruled by a Greek pharaoh and surrounded by Greek culture. Today, the glorious capital of Alexander, Ptolemy I, and Cleopatra has all but disappeared.
So much of ancient Egypt survives. The pyramids, the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, all these magnificent temples. But why is it that so little survives of Alexandria?
In ancient Philadelphia, Bassem's team has almost finished clearing the sand from the painted mausoleum.
The walls were completely painted with colors, yellow squares, frames of white, red, and blue. We call it the Egyptian blue. This kind of blue is really, really expensive.
Historians believe Egyptian blue to be the very first artificial pigment. Manufactured by hand, its presence confirms the mausoleum owner's wealth. With a footprint of nearly 1,400 square feet, this was a funerary house of impressive size. 2 large rooms were likely covered by a shallow vaulted roof. A columned portico surrounded the main structure, offering shade and a private entrance for visitors. Inside, lavish painted decorations covered the floors, walls, and ceilings with geometric patterns. Grand and opulent, it was a mausoleum fit for a wealthy Philadelphia, emulating the glories of Alexandria. Linked as it is to the ancient capital, Bassem knows this funerary house could hold clues not just to Alexandrian architectural traditions, but also to Alexandrian mortuary practices.
The most enigmatic thing is that we didn't find yet any of the mummies inside this place. The only missing clue is finding the mummy. The plastered mausoleum might have a substructure below it.
If Bassem is to uncover any human remains, he has to find a way under the precious painted floor to see if there's a crypt below. At the temple site of Taposiris Magna, Kathleen's team of tomb excavators carefully brushes the loose sand from the shallow grave. This could be her first chance this season to study the body of an ordinary ancient Alexandrian, if there's anything left of it.
I think we reached the level of the human remains.
What are you seeing there?
So this is the humerus, and here we have the forearm. So this part is here, and then we have this part.
The body appears to be in its original burial position. This confirms the tomb is undisturbed. The skeleton is very degraded, but to expert eyes, it may still yield valuable evidence.
We are discovering several areas of black color, and it's because it's the remains of the mummification. This skeleton was mummified and placed like a mummy inside the grave.
Alexandria's population had strong ties to Greek culture. But in ancient Greece, nobody mummified their dead. This grave suggests even less wealthy Alexandrians fully embraced the local Egyptian death rites. But the Greeks also seem to have brought their own burial practices to Alexandria.
It's an anthropoid tomb. Instead of bringing a coffin, they created the coffin in the bedrock. And what is interesting is the Greeks were the first ones who started with these traditions. This side is full of surprise.
If Kathleen is to learn any more, she'll need to exhume what remains of the body. But 2,000 years of desert storms have taken their toll.
It's better that we go more careful because everything seems to be almost powder. The bones are very, very weak, very deteriorated.
At Alexandria's sister settlement of Philadelphia, Bassem is searching for the final piece of the grand mausoleum's puzzle. He's on the hunt for the owner's body. He thinks it could lie beneath the precious painted floor. This morning, his team has had a lucky break.
Just when we excavate this part of the mausoleum, we just found a broken part that might have been a hole that was made by the looters. Now we can look below the painted plaster.
This could be an entrance to the crypt Bassem's been looking for. Within minutes, archaeologist Mohammed Kamel exposes something in the sand.
Muhammad, ايه اللي شايفه عندك؟ Muhammad and Gihad is cleaning, and they have just dropped into a mummy that was placed in this grave. This job has to be done really carefully.
The first thing to emerge from the sand, wrapped in linen, is a face.
I can see now the head of the mummy. It is placed in the grave cut below the floor level, this painted plaster.
As Mohammed clears more debris from the void below the painted floor, he's faced with a surprise.
So it seems that Muhammad found two mummies, not only one.
It's more than Bassem could have hoped for. But if these are the owners of the tomb, identifying them is going to be a challenge.
The mummy is not in the really good condition. However, the wrapping looks really nice.
The poor state of the mummies is a concern. And so is the condition of the plaster floor. The mud brick beneath is fragile. It could collapse at any moment.
We still don't know yet the information we need about these two mummies. Who are they? The age, whether they are male or female.
If Bassem is going to learn any more about the bodies, he's going to have to examine them right here, right now. At the Alexandrian outpost of Taposiris Magna, the weather is hampering Kathleen's efforts to excavate the body. Beneath a protective windbreak, bone specialist Linda delicately extracts the crumbling fragments one by one. The smallest clue could add to Kathleen's understanding of ordinary Alexandrian life.
It's challenging, but I think Linda is the best. So if it's anything to be rescued, she will.
The work is painstaking. Every stroke of Linda's brush could damage the remains.
There was another one, not so big and not so small.
As evening approaches, Linda and Kathleen can finally transfer the bagged bones to shelter for analysis. It's not going to be easy. Even identifying such degraded bones requires patience and an expert eye.
This is the area of the forearm. Fragments are very damaged, but anyway, even if they are damaged, they can give us a lot of information about who was buried there.
These are the ribs.
Yeah, you see the sun is very wet, so it's difficult to clean them. So usually I let them dry a little bit, then it's easier.
The bone's size suggests they belong to a fully grown individual, but the best preserved remains offer more detail.
The best evidence we have is the tooth. We were very lucky to to find a tooth because it gave us a lot of clues about the age, about the way of life.
And what age do you think?
I think it's quite young, probably around 30, 35 range of age.
Yes. It's a healthy tooth, but it has big holes. That's interesting. But it's not damaged at all.
Almost all ancient Egyptians had poor teeth, worn down by the grit present in their bread. The tooth's otherwise healthy condition suggests this Alexandrian had a good diet. Even those buried cheaply in shallow graves seem to have benefited as the booming city of Alexandria prospered.
This is the first time that something about this part of the necropolis has been studied. It's vital because it gives us important information about the people. It's very rewarding when you are the first person to see somebody that is not known for 2,000 years. I feel touched.
Kathleen's evidence suggests that the lives and deaths of ordinary Alexandrians were different from anything that came before. Mummified like Egyptians, but buried in tombs pioneered by Greeks, these two ancient civilizations were fusing to create a population altogether new. But Kathleen's journey to understand life in Alexandria is only just beginning.
This is only one shallow grave among many, many more. Each tomb helps us to put together a piece of the puzzle.
Today, Kathleen is one step closer to completing the picture. In the ancient necropolis of Philadelphia, Bassem hopes the mummies he's discovered beneath the Alexandrian-style mausoleum will reveal how wealthier Alexandrians dealt with death. He needs to confirm who they are, but he can't extract the bodies without them falling apart. His only option is to examine them, cramped up in their crypt.
The grave that we have found in this painted structure contains 2 mummies. However, it's so fragile, so for the safety of the mummies, we have moved a portable X-ray machine.
A well-oriented X-ray will see through the mummy's bandaging and give Bassem clues to their age and sex. But the mummies' positions are causing problems.
It's difficult because the tight space that we are working in, condition of the mummy, and also unstable electricity. Using the machine itself is a skill, but also using it in a desert is another skill.
Bassem's radiographers must slide the X-ray plate behind the mummy's head. To create an image, they need to blast the head with radiation, but avoid exposing themselves to the rays. Any false move with the plate and the mummy could simply disintegrate.
We are almost there. حلو ماشي معاك معاك.
In ancient Philadelphia, Bassem is hunting for evidence of Alexandrian mortuary practices. In the excavation's field tent, he's finally able to analyze the tomb's occupants. He's looking for any clues that could confirm who they were.
The mummy was wrapped with a very thick linen wrapping, especially in the head area, so almost 8 centimeters of textile, but we can clearly see and measure what we call it the mastoid process, which is this bone. It's slightly larger in the male. So we know from the X-ray that this is an adult male. He also lost one tooth, which is the right canine. But the degree of the wear, we can estimate the age between 35 to 37 years old at death.
Life expectancy was low in ancient Egypt, but elite classes stood a better chance of surviving to their late 30s and accumulating the wealth needed for an elaborate tomb, built by the best Alexandrian craftsmen. Bassem's attention turns to the X-ray images of the crypt's other occupant.
The mummy that was placed on top of the second one was for sure a female.
The grave appears to contain a couple, perhaps husband and wife.
This habit was proved in many places in this area, all around this mausoleum, and it became like a, let's say, the fashion of being buried together. I would assume that this male and female was the owners of this mausoleum who built this painted structure.
Not only has Bassem unearthed Alexandrian architecture, he's found first-hand evidence of how the wealthy treated their dead in Egypt's Alexandrian age. After mummification, the body was taken to its final resting place, with priests, mourners, and grave goods accompanying the coffin. The mummy was interred beneath the mausoleum floor, and mourners would hold vigil over the tomb. The family met regularly to honor the dead and shared food with the deceased above the tomb. The mourners would smash plates at the end of the meal, a classically Greek custom deep in the heart of Egypt.
For me, this is special because we have solved the mystery of this mausoleum.
Bassem's painted structure is a vivid portrait of Alexandria's lost culture.
We have been gifted in this site. It's a cutting-edge information that makes everything that you could read in history comes to the reality, so you can touch it by your hand. These people were so important. They played a very big role in the history of Egypt.
Bassem's discovery proves wealthy Philadelphians adopted Alexandria's fusion of Greek and Egyptian cultures, ushering in a new era of prosperity in Egypt, far beyond the capital. But the legendary city where it all began was destined to disappear. In Alexandria, Arto has come to the waterfront in search of clues to explain the ancient city's downfall. Where the famous lighthouse of Alexandria once towered over the harbor, now stands the citadel of Kite Bay.
Now this is an impressive structure.
The fort was built by an Islamic sultan in 1477 CE. But Arto thinks its stonework could contain evidence of the Greek city's fate.
Look at this doorway. It's very different from everything else. The majority of the masonry of this structure is made of limestone. But this here, this is very clearly pink granite.
Pink granite was a popular material in the time of the pharaohs, used to decorate both buildings and monuments. For Arto, the fort's location right where the lighthouse once stood can only mean one thing.
I believe that these blocks are actually from the site of the lighthouse of Alexandria.
The granite doorway is one of very few ancient blocks visible in the fort. The fate of the rest of the lighthouse could be a clue to how ancient Alexandria disappeared. Below the fort's walls, marine archaeologists have taken the search underwater to the floor of the harbor. Their footage shows the silty seabed covered with what appears to be ancient stone.
This is just fascinating stuff. These are very clearly rectangular blocks. These are dressed, cut stone blocks from a structure. Looks like granite too, it really does. Oh yeah, it's granite, it's granite, it's granite.
The ancient granite blocks are not stacked or carefully arranged. This isn't a drowned building. Instead, the structure seems to have suffered a cataclysmic destruction. According to contemporary accounts, on July the 21st, 365 CE, a powerful earthquake shook Alexandria, damaging buildings all over the city. Shortly after, the water receded, leaving fish and other sea life high and dry. But the sea returned in a towering wave. Thousands were caught in this unstoppable flood. The tsunami swept ships onto the roofs of buildings and reduced much of the city to rubble. The lighthouse would have been directly in the wave's path, and so were the rest of the jewels in Alexandria's crown.
We know the area very close to the shore was in fact where the royal palaces were, where a lot of the most monumental, iconic buildings of Alexandria were located.
Over the following centuries, Alexandria suffered more disasters, leveling the Greek buildings that made the city famous. The glorious capital constructed by Alexander the Great's successors may have been wiped off the face of Egypt. But today, archaeologists are discovering that its very existence had helped establish a new, hybrid, Greek-Egyptian way of life, with the living enjoying a fusion of artistic styles in their architecture and following the traditions of both civilizations when burying their dead. Alexander the Great didn't just found a city. His conquest gave birth to a new Egypt, and its legacy survives to this day.